Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. Now in today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how you can use the masking tool in Adobe Premiere Pro to create an effect like this. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using it to hide a part of the image. So let's jump into Premiere Pro and see how this is done. Okay, so we are in Premiere Pro right now. I'm just going to scrub through the timeline just to show you what we're doing, just to show you what we're trying to achieve with this particular effect. So we have a jar, and essentially we're going to be filling that jar with the moisturizer. And the moisturizer in this case is this liquid computer generated video that is of a splash, a liquid splash, like a milk splash, and that is filling up the moisturizer bottle. And that's the effect that we're trying to achieve right here. So we're just going to be going back and forth from here, seeing how we get that liquid into the bottle. So if we were to go and just kind of observe what the splash is doing, this is how it was downloaded from my library. So this is the splash in its entirety, as we can see in the source window here. And that is how it looks. So if we bring it on to the timeline now, let's just move over to this this little section over here that I've copied over. So I'm going to delete the cap, and I'm also going to delete the splash. So that's what we have on the timeline here. We have the jar, and in that position, once it gets here, what I want to have is the splashes coming in to the jar. So let's just bring the splash back onto here and let's see what we have. So this is what we'd have. So this is our splash right here, and we can see it already has a transparent background. So the first thing we're going to do is come up to effect controls, and down on the opacity, we're just gonna, these are the masks that you can apply. So you can apply an elliptical mask, or a square mask, or rectangle, or you can use the pen tool to freehand it. And this is what we're going to be using today. But just to give you an example of the other two types of masks, let's just bring an elliptical mask onto here. Like I say, we're trying to hide or reveal or hide a part of the object where we don't want it. So in this case, if we were to move this up, we can see we are changing the area in which we can see the mask. If we were to just delete this one and we're going to apply a square, it's going to be the same principle, and we can also change the shape of this accordingly if we want to see it there, if we don't. So you can already kind of have an idea of where we're actually going with. But because the top of this jar is curved, I'm just going to use the pen tool because it's slightly easier. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do now is just check my positioning. So I've just moved the splash right up to the top, and I've set my first keyframe, and then I'm just going to bring this along just to where the splash almost ends. Let's bring this out a little bit, just about here. So I want this to start from the top where it is and work its way down, and then I'm just going to move the positioning down here, down into the bottle. So that's the idea. So if we just kind of play this back, we can see the splash starting at the top, and it swells and it drops in. So now that we have that general movement coming from the top to the bottom, what I'm going to do is draw my mask now. So I'm going to stop it just here about in the middle, so I can have an idea of what exactly is going on, especially with these splashes that are coming off the main one. So I'm going to use that as a guide to draw the mask using the pen tool. Now this is a rough mask, but I'm also paying attention to these little details here. So I'm making sure that I'm not cutting across here, and I'm just going around, just giving it a little bit of space. And I don't need to go too wide because I already know the confines of this particular image right here. So I'm going to give it some headroom at the top, because the idea is that I'm going to be moving this this mask as well. Now, as I mentioned before, we can use these handles to just affect the curve here. Just tidy this up a little bit, make it a little bit. If you don't see any handles here, just hit the option button, hover and hit the option button, and you'll get your handles, and you can pull these and drag these around exactly to where you kind of want it. Now let's bring this back to 100% so we can see exactly what it is that we're doing. So what I want to do now is I just want to roll this back. Just going to disable the mask for a second. So I'm going to roll this back, and I'm going to bring it down, and I'm scrubbing it down just to this point right here. So that's the point where the liquid almost hits the jar just here. And I'm going to use that as my starting point. So I'm just going to just bring this mask back down here. Just drag it down on here. And I'm going to use that as the starting point to animate the mask itself, so we can move it in tandem with the movement of the original frame. So to do that, we go over to the effect controls and we toggle the mask path animation. So if we hit that, then we get a keyframe. It's going to bring the mask back up here. So that's our starting point. And then we are going to scroll or roll. Then we're just going to come across the timeline to just near the end. So just about there where it finishes. So the last drop has now entered the bottle. And then we're just going to reposition the mask. So now this is just going to create a new keyframe in that position. So just to give you an idea of what is happening overall is that the mask is actually moving whilst the whole frame is moving down. The mask is moving up. And we can see, because we didn't put it in exactly the same position that it should have been, we can see there's a slight movement. You can see that mask moving left and right just a tiny bit because it's not in the exact position, but it doesn't really matter because you can't really see that. So let's go back out to 100%. I'm going to turn that outline off so we can see what is happening here. What I'm going to do is turn the mask off completely. So that's with the mask off. And this is with the mask back on. And that is essentially the magic behind the scenes in this particular edit. Now, what I'm going to do in the description below is post a link where you can get the assets if you wanted to practice this. So I'm going to drop the assets that you're going to need to create this or recreate this. All I'm going to ask, guys, is if you use those assets to practice, let me see the results. I'm very interested in seeing, what you've done with it. You could really take your time and finesse this. Make sure that you get the masking, exactly on point. But this for me is good enough. It's just it's fast enough so that you probably won't even notice if there's a gap. But there's certain things that you should really look out for and finesse. Also, let me know in the comments below, guys, what other things that you use masks for and what other techniques that could be implemented in this particular scenario if you've done that. And if you found this useful, guys, hit the like button. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you want to see more content like this. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.